So it's that time again where we go through picks for this week. Jay, do you want to give us updates for where we stand after 4 weeks?
4 weeks, we have a new leader. So Paul sits at 38 and 26. That's a 60% win rate, or sorry, a 59.4 win rate. I sit at 42 and 22. It's a 65.6% win rate. And Rob has now taken the lead, 44 and 20. That's a 68.8 win rate. Pretty damn good, I think. Better. I would like to see these so-called experts and their records, because I think we're trumping them at the moment.
Some have been shocking. Yeah, we'll have to find that for next week to see where we stand compared to some of these experts.
So I know that going into last week, I was last of us three at 28 and 20, I believe it was, yep. And I was tied with Florio, who was beating Chris Sims.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so you two were beating Florio. I was tied with him heading into this week, and I went 10 and 6 this week. Rob, you went 13 and 3. So yeah. You're comfortably ahead of people who do it professionally.
Yeah, there we go. Good stuff. Let's hope that long may it continue.
That's right.
Going into this week's games, I'll tell you what, there's a few games that I still haven't actually have made up my mind yet. I'm just gonna decide when we talk about it, because they're coin flips. But yeah, let's get started. So Chicago Bears at Washington Commanders, tomorrow night's game. I've got the Commanders winning. Surprise, surprise. Reason being is that they're playing Chicago Bears and they're playing Justin Fields, and I don't really need to add any more than that. So what about you, Jay?
I mean, the Commanders gave the Eagles a great game. Paul's man, Sam Howell, bounced back last week after that kind of weird performance against the Bills. The Bears. I mean, they were up by 21, were they? And it all fell apart. Fields fumbled. Maybe Fields for an interception. 4th and 1 in field goal range to take the lead. You go for it. This
team, almost as bad of a decision as the Staley the week before.
Exactly. I can't trust the Bears. Fields lit it up in the first half. Not going to put much on that. It was against the Broncos. Commanders win. I would be careful though. I don't think I would take the spread at 7.
It's 5.5 now.
It's 5.5.
Yeah.
I would still be careful, but Commanders win.
Okay. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I felt sorry for Justin last week against the Broncos, because, like you said, he did play well. It's against the Broncos D, but he played very well, and in the first 3 quarters, he played pretty well. He needs some help. He needs someone to go over to him when they're 28-7 up and say, Justin, calm down. Like, just hand the ball off. Just throw the ball 2 yards. Just, if it's not there, don't try and make it happen. We've got 28-7. We haven't won a football game since October 2022. It's nearly a calendar year since they won a football game. Can I trust them to go into Washington and win a football game? Absolutely not. No. And I like Sam Howell. Commanders win. Wouldn't be in a rush to back them to cover. I think it's quite a high-scoring game. I know Thursday nights aren't really high-scoring games, but I see this going over because both these concede points. Yeah, Commanders win.
Okay.
And the over.
Cool. Jags at the Bills. We've already gone through this. I think all 3 of us went with the Bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lovely. Yep. Texas at the Atlanta Falcons. I've gone with the Texans in this game. As you touched upon with your performance of the week, Jay, CJ Stroud, watched him quite a few times in college. I thought he was a really good college quarterback that wouldn't be able to make that transition to the NFL. And I've been proven wrong up to now. He's a leader. As an organization, drafting a quarterback, he's everything that you would want. Right? That quote you mentioned about the fans haven't had a win in a year, or something along them lines. Like that's what's going to get fans to love you. That gets them in your corner. So he will have the odd bad game this year. He's a rookie, of course he will. They will let them slide. But it seems a bit of a buzz around the organisation. Even with injuries right now, they're still performing to a much higher level than we've seen without injuries in previous years, especially with your favourite Bill O'Brien being in the coaching setup. But yeah, look at Atlanta. They've obviously, I completely didn't realise this, that I thought after the London games that you normally had a bye, but they've got to travel back and they're playing. So that's going to take a lot out of the players. All that travelling and not many good thoughts to sort of think about on that long journey back. The blueprint to beat this Falcons team, all three of us mentioned it last week. You stop the run, you're going to beat this team. Wonder what the Texans are going to do on Sunday. So I'm going with the Texans. That just the Falcons really have to step up and find a way to. Let's not even find a way to make life easier for Ridder. I think they've just got to bring Heineke. I think Heineke gives them a better chance of winning than Ridder does right now. Whether that happens, I've not heard any reports that that's even in the equation to happen right now, or the conversation, which is surprising. But yeah, Texans to win. What about you, Jay?
I mean, I texted you guys at half time and said it's time to roll with Money Heineke. This is going to be the same objective every week for whoever's playing the Falcons. Mission: stop Bijan Robinson if you can. Can the Texans do enough? I think that he has a bigger day this week, but I don't think it's going to matter because the Falcons, maybe I'm not seeing this right, but I'm not really sold on this defense. And I just think that CJ Stroud is playing at a pretty high level already. He's got a great relationship with Nico Collins. They've got an angry runner who, and I love me some angry runners. Damian Pierce, he's back from injury. I think that Stroud is going to have another very good game. Texans win. Texans are the underdog, so they will cover.
Yeah. What are they? I'm just looking. I did write it down. They're 2-point underdogs.
Yeah, field goal. Oh, 2. It's moved.
So, well, this is as of this afternoon, early this afternoon. So unless it's changed since then, but yeah. What about you, Paul?
Rob, hold on 1 sec. If Heineke plays, if he starts, would you change your mind?
It's a great question. It's a really good question. If Heineke starts, so looking at that, the Texans have very likely planned for Ridder. Their game plan has been for Ridder all week. So that would definitely throw a spanner in the works because the Falcons have the skill players with Pitts and London, with Bijan. That if you've got someone who can get them the ball, it's at home. I would say if Heineke starts, I would go for an Atlanta win. I think him coming in will give them a little buzz. The fans want it, I think, right now. And even though the Texans had a good win last week, I think it flattered them. I don't think they're as good as the win might suggest. But I think they're good enough to beat the Falcons with Ridder. With Heineke, it's not like he's the saviour. But I think the Falcons have the skill players. If they can get the ball to them, they could be electric. But that's the problem. They can't get it. So I would say, yeah, if Heineke does start, not if he comes on it, he'd have to start for me. Yeah. I would probably change it. I would go with a Falcons win.
I will too, because Heineke loves an impact game. He doesn't last. He doesn't last much longer than that. But when he comes in, he will make an impact. So if Heineke was to start, don't think he will. I'll take Atlanta. But if Ridder starts, then obviously I'm sticking with the Texans.
Lovely. Who you got, Paul?
I'm picking the Texans, and I'll pick the Texans if it's Heineke, if it's Ridder. I'll pick the Texans, and the reason I'm picking them is I think my faith in the Falcons was misguided at the start of the season, especially having watched them. The two games that they've won against Carolina and Green Bay got ran all over in the fourth quarter to lose that game, having been up and should have handled the game. Carolina have shown themselves to be a team in transition, so can't put too much credit in beating the Panthers at home week 1. And the Packers' run D, as we know, is nothing special. The Texans are a very well coached team, very well coached. D'Amico Ryans has started very well as an NFL level head coach, having come from San Francisco as that D coordinator, and that D, as we know, was very good last year. I don't know, Jay would know more about this, whether it's dropped off at all this year since he left, but yeah, they look like a professional, well coached team, and I trust them to go in there and to handle the Falcons' run game. And that is the key to the game, as we say every week with the Falcons. Texans go in there and win. Doesn't matter who's quarterback.
Okay, cool. Carolina Panthers at the Detroit Lions. I'm going with a Lions win. Lions, great. I love the coaching setup they've got there. They've had a pretty good start to the year. The run game hasn't been as good all through the year. I was expecting a bit more from Jahmyr Gibbs, but Montgomery's been a monster. I love watching. I know, Paul, you like a bit of Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown, again, hasn't blown me away, but they're putting together good performances week after week, and they're a hard team to beat. They're a team that no one, I think, would enjoy to play. They're never going to be a rollover. They're coached well. They play hard. Panthers, Paul, you mentioned, they're in transition. They're not there. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league. I think this year they're gonna. So for me, Detroit Lions at home, comfortable win. Yeah. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, not much to add other than I think the Lions get one of their first round picks back this week. Jack Williams.
Yeah.
I don't know much about him other than, they all say that he is one that takes the top off. I think he had one catch last year. It went for 41 yards. Let's see how they integrate him in, if they integrate him much this week. Mm-hmm. But I got to say, I'm really impressed with the tight end, Sam Laporta. He comes from Iowa, which I believe is the home of George Kittle. So they know how to make tight ends in Iowa. I just think the Lions will have too much. The Panthers, as I keep saying, not sold on them at all. They've hung in a few games. I don't think they hang in this one. Not sure what the spread is. If it's under 10, I would take the Lions to cover the spread.
Okay. I'm not sure on the spread. What about you, Paul?
I think the spread was 11 when I looked at it earlier on. It was 11, which is a tricky number, 11. But yeah, this is you try to think of how to call the upset with these games, but I can't find a legitimate, crazy reason to call the upset. The Lions are not the old Lions. They're very mature and quite tough and don't make mistakes. Went into Green Bay, division game on the road, handled Green Bay, played mature. coped with the environment. Yeah, the Lions beat the Panthers. It's not going to be close. I wouldn't back them to cover 10-11 because Panthers might get garbage time, but they'll win this game.
Perfect. Now, the first game that I still haven't actually decided yet, which is Titans at the Colts. There's 4 games I haven't highlighted with a winner, and this is the first one. From 2 weeks ago, the Titans got made to look fools out of, and then last week they made fools out of the Bengals. I don't know what I'm going to get with the Titans, to be honest with you. But then I look at who they're playing, the Colts, 23-0 down at one point against the Rams. The Rams aren't that bad of a team, but to get it back to 23-all and then to lose in overtime, or I think they had the ball once before it got to overtime, didn't they? And they didn't score. And I think they both had the ball once, maybe, after it was tied up. I have question marks for both teams. I'm going to go with the Titans purely because Derrick Henry is a beast, and how can you bet against Derrick Henry? Their coaching setup is great. The trenches are okay. And a bit of D Hopkins, who doesn't like that? Henry and D Hop. I've seen a dome in the Colts. Yeah, I'll probably change my mind about 5 or 6 times this week, but I'm going to go with the Titans to win. But it's a coin toss. I could just as easily put the Colts right now. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, this one really is tricky. It's one of those where I'd say, like, I don't really know what I'm going to get from the Titans, and I don't really know what I'm going to get from the Colts. And I'm not saying that these two are incompetent. It's just that they're inconsistent, and that makes it very difficult. I mean, you look at the Colts, like you said, night and day, first half, second half. Titans, week 3, week 4. Who's going to show up in this game? I don't know, honestly. Really impressed with Anthony Richardson at times. Definitely, he's definitely got something special about him. Difficult one.
It is. Could be a tie.
My only question is, Derrick Henry ran riot last week, and will the Colts make that point of emphasis this week? Even if they do, can they stop Henry, who's still going to be elite? Oh, it's going to be difficult. I'm going to just side with the Titans to win. Don't know what the spread is. I imagine it's very close.
I think it's like one point spread. I'm not sure which way. It's not a big spread.
Yeah. Just on one other note, DeAndre Hopkins needs, I think, roughly 105 receiving yards to pass the great Megatron.
Wow.
In the time yards. Just want to give DeAndre Hopkins a shout out. He's coming to the end, but this is one of the great receivers of this era.
Yeah.
My man D Hop. Will he get it? I say no. Not this week. But yeah, Titans to win. Just.
Cool. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, this game's really tough. There are two. The Colts are Jekyll and Hyde team, first half, second half, like you don't know. And the Titans are a home and away team. At home, they've beaten the Chargers and they've beaten the Bengals. On the road, they have been shocking. And Ryan Tannehill has been completely terrible in those 2 road games. So that's the pattern that they've shown us so far. So I'm going to roll with that. I'm going to go with the Colts to win because I think Ryan Tannehill is going to have a minimum of 2 turnovers, and they're going to produce points, and the Colts need the points because, yeah, the more I think of it, the more I want to go Titans. But no, I'm going to go with Tannehill and the turnovers producing a Colts win.
Okay. Tough one now, guys. New York Giants at the Miami Dolphins.
Tough for the Giants.
Yeah, tough one to predict, but we touched upon it earlier. What better game could you ask for if you're a Miami Dolphins team coming off pretty tough loss last week, coming up against this offense, this defense, you name it, however you want to look at it. I like Miami to win. I think they'll even cover the 11-point spread. But yeah, that's me. what to add? You know, it's the Giants have just been poor. They've quit. Miami will have a point to prove. I think they'll want to pile up the points against the Giants. They're at home, and yeah, so Miami to win. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, I think the Giants defensively have done all right. I'd say they've done all right, but the Bills are a far better defense, and for at least a little bit, the Dolphins were able to move the ball on the Bills. Just I think that there were a few plays in there where they just outcoached the Dolphins a little bit. Yep. Got to Tua, had him dead to rights. Don't really see that happening in this game. Even if it does, what can we say about the Giants' offense? I mean, okay, is Barkley going to be back? Does it matter overall, really, with that offensive line? Yeah, this will be a bounce back for the Dolphins. I think they'll run riot. I think they'll cover the, was it 12? 11. Yeah, I say they cover. And the feel-good factor will return after this game.
Lovely. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, Dolphins win. I'd be interested to see just what the Dolphins D do against this Giants offense, because the Dolphins D I haven't been impressed with it. And this is, if you want to get right game, then it's playing against the Giants at home. Like, it's just a great get right game, get some confidence, get some sacks against this Giants O-line. So yeah, Dolphins win, won't be close. Check the number of sacks, check how the D perform for Miami. If the Giants put up more than 13, I consider that a loss. They need to just show what they're going to do in the future in the playoffs, this D. So yeah, it's all on the Miami D.
I actually think the Miami offense could cover the over on their own. On them, 48.5 is the over.
The Giants' differential is insane. I mean, at home, I think it's 64-3. They've been outscored.
Crazy. It's crazy number.
On prime time. Twice.
Right. Now, the second of the 4 games that I still haven't decided on. New Orleans Saints at the New England Patriots. Really struggling on this one. I didn't like what I saw from New Orleans at the weekend. They've not been amazing all season, but they've managed to ground out some wins. Now they're going into New England. Bill Belichick got his ass kicked last week. You can be pretty sure that he'll get a response from his team this week. I do think Judon is out, isn't he? He's out for quite a while. That's a huge miss. But I still think the team is coached well enough at home to have enough for New Orleans. So as I'm about to say who I think to win, I'm actually thinking I'm going to change it again and maybe go against that. I am going to go with I'm going against it. I'm going with a New Orleans win. Kamara's back as well, isn't he? Thomas, Olave, Judon being out. I'm going with New Orleans. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation. I just don't know how to pick this game. Two teams that they're nothing teams this year. They don't suck to the point where they're going to get the number one pick or a top 5 pick, but they're nowhere near at a level that they will even sniff the play. Well, maybe the Saints will by default of the NFC being weaker, but the Patriots have no chance, absolutely no chance of being in playoff contention. So they lost Judon. They lost
someone else, didn't they?
Corner that they really like. So they traded for J.C. Jackson, who didn't fit in with the Chargers. He was pretty good with the Patriots. That is Bill Belichick, a record loss of 38-3. Will he be able to bounce back from that? Will he lose this team? Will this be the first time that Belichick loses a team? Derek Carr in Foxborough. Derek Carr is an interesting one, isn't it? Because he can play really well and really badly.
Yeah, do you trust Derek Carr or Mac Jones?
Mac Jones, you know what? I put my faith in the last week, and I even said it's very dangerous to back Mac Jones. And what did he do? And he proved me right by throwing a terrible pick 6 where he stared it down. And the Cowboys themselves even said after the game, watching film of Mac Jones, he stares down his receivers. This is a coin flip. I'll go with the Saints. I think they're a bit more talented. As I've said, the Patriots D is too slow. That front 7 is not a good front 7. And if Judon's not playing, the one kind of bright spark, I can't back the Patriots. I'm done with the Patriots. Saints win.
And what about you, Paul? Oh, you're on mute.
So this game, I find it impossible to kind of predict because it's one of those games that when you pick it, you start watching it, and then as soon as the game starts, you're like, why did I pick this team? Like, that was so dumb. Would I lay money on this game? Absolutely not.
Avoid.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you need to give us a pick.
I need to give you a pick. I'm gonna go bounce back Belichick with the embarrassed on national TV. Keep the game plan very simple. The Saints, I don't trust either of them, but I trust Belichick more than I do the Saints on the road. Yeah. I don't love it, but give me the Patriots.
Okay, cool. The Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I found this surprisingly hard because you can bet your ass that Tomlin is gone into them players this week and they won't play like they did last week. There's no doubt about that. That being said, I don't think they're going to have enough to beat the Ravens team because they have an equally good coach in Harbaugh, a great coach in Harbaugh. The quarterback is a lot better. Pickens, he's not playing, is he? Your QB, Paul? He's out, right?
They haven't confirmed. They like typical Mike Tomlin press conferences. Like his participation will guide what we do in practice this week. He doesn't have a serious injury. He has a bone bruise on his knee.
Right.
realistically, a sensible team would sit him this week, play Trubisky, and they've got a bye week upcoming.
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting to happen.
Yeah. And that's what I've read will happen. So based off of that, to be honest, even if he was playing, it wouldn't change my pick. I'm going with the Ravens to win. Your OC is not up to the level. Simple as that to be an NFL OC. Ravens have too much. Ravens win. What about you, Jay?
Oh boy. I feel like it's Groundhog Day again. The Steelers off an ugly loss, playing a division rival. We were here in week 2 and we all said the Browns will win this game. The Steelers make it very difficult. I would not bet on this game because you just don't know what you're going to get. And it's in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying this right now. If Trubisky starts, Ravens win. I'm not even going to buy into the Steelers miraculously winning the game with Trubisky. They will not. They will not. Sorry, Mitch. Put me on freezing cold takes if the Steelers win with Mitchell Trubisky. If Pickett plays, this is really difficult because this is a true rivalry. Like this is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh and Tomlin, I believe they were saying the 38th meeting between these two coaches. Stability of these two teams clearly on show with that. I've got to go with the Ravens. I think that this will be one of those games, though, that will go down to the wire, as Ravens Steelers typically does. I don't know why I think that based on what I've seen from the Steelers offense, but I'm just going to buy into the Steelers. They respond when they play badly.
They do.
And I think they will respond. And Lamar has had trouble. He's had trouble in these games against the Steelers. I think that he will have some trouble again this week. But the Ravens will win.
Okay.
Don't know what the spread is. But
don't know the spread, but the over-under is 38.
Yeah,
Spread's
one of those.
4. Ravens -4.
It's one of those contenders.
Field goal game. Always.
Yeah.
It's always a field goal game. It's always a 3-point win.
I wouldn't bet on it. If I had to, I would go +4 on the Steelers on that one. But I won't be touching. I won't even be touching it on the money lines.
It feels as like an under contender, even at 38.
Yep, I agree.
Ravens win. Would not bet on this game.
Yeah, cool. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, like you said, historically this is a field goal game, and historically this is a legendary rivalry matchup. 2 great coaches, 2 great franchises. But when the Steelers have had their backs up against the wall in the past, they've managed to get out of it. Even with Duck Hodges, they had a better D than they do this year. The Steelers D quietly has played pretty damn poorly so far this year. And part of that is that the offense goes 3 and out and puts them back on the field. But part of it is that they're just not playing up to their potential. A lot of it's hidden with TJ Watt and Highsmith and the sacks, but there's quite a few guys that are not performing to the level that they should be. I'm talking about Patrick Peterson. I'm talking about Levi Wallace at the other corner. I'm talking about the 2 middle linebackers. Since Ryan Shazier got hurt that terrible night in Cincinnati, we haven't been able to replace middle linebacker. How many years is that now? So that's the difference this year, is that the Steelers D is not what the Steelers D was in those years when they caused Lamar those problems. And the Steelers offense, we've talked about it. So, yeah, hurts me to say Ravens go into Pittsburgh and win.
Okay. Now, Philadelphia Eagles against the LA Rams. This game's actually was a bit harder than I expected. I think the Rams will do a job, but I don't see the Eagles giving them a 23-point head start like the Colts did. I've got the Eagles to win. I don't know what the spread is. -4 is the spread. I actually think they will probably cover the spread as well. I don't know why I think that. It's not based off of their performance last week, that's for sure. But I think they win. They're playing in LA, which they don't have many fans there, so it's not going to be an amazing atmosphere from LA's standpoint. I just like well, I want to say defensively, but actually I watched that game last week and it wasn't that great. I like the D-line against the Rams O-line, and I like the Eagles O-line against the Rams D-line. I see Philadelphia comfortably winning. What about you, Jay?
So Cooper Kupp has been on the PUP list, and this is the week that you can be eligible to return. I don't know if he's going to return.
I don't believe there's not been any mentioning that what I've read in the reports. So
it's going to be another week of Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. I've got to say that McVay does deserve credit for making this team competitive. I mean, I was expecting this to be a tankathon. The way that they just tore it down and basically traded anyone that wasn't named Aaron Donald, Matt Stafford, or Cooper Kupp. I do think that they will pass on this Eagles defense, and I do think that they will score.
Yeah.
But I think you nailed it, Rob. And I said it last week. I said the Rams' offensive line versus the Colts' defensive line. Well, this isn't the Colts' defensive line, clearly, is it? I think that the Eagles will make, once again, just enough plays to win the game. I think it will be high scoring. I do think it will be another high scoring game. But in the end, yeah, Eagles cover. Their offense is stuttering, but when you've got that offensive line and run game, it almost doesn't matter. Eagles win. Eagles cover. I'm going with the over.
I think what we also forget is, we all think that the Eagles, like team, defensively, offensively, are stuttering, not playing what we expect. They put up over 30 points the last 2 weeks still, haven't they? It's like scary how good they can be, because they haven't put together a performance yet. But yeah, what about you, Paul?
So I heard today that the Eagles rookie, Jalen Carter, has the third highest win rate of D-line like rushers. Interior D-line, he is the third ranked rusher behind Chris Jones and Aaron Donald. He's a rookie. He's there next to Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. And like the guys have said, the weakness of the Rams, one of the weaknesses of the Rams, but the glaring weakness is their O-line. So I wish Matthew Stafford all the best this week because he's going to be running. Yeah, this is a bad matchup for the Rams. Just there, like every time they snap the ball on offense, they have to account for this Eagles D-line because they're going to be coming, and they're always coming, and they're very talented. The Eagles run game, like if the Rams did have a slightly better O-line, then this is a potential upset game on the road. Eagles, like, it's a potential one they could drop, but I don't think they will with the Rams O-line. So yeah, the Eagles win. Could be close, but I think the Eagles win.
Cool. Right. Bengals at the Cardinals. God, this is a tricky one. Like, Cardinals have actually played pretty well most of the games this year. I was expecting the Cardinals and the Giants to have swapped roles. If you would have told me the score line, etc., of the Giants this year, that is exactly what I thought would have been the case with Arizona and vice versa. But it's not. Bengals, I'm in shock at how poor they've looked this year. Whether you've got an injury or not, you're on the field. You mentioned it earlier, Jay. Like, if you're on the field, you're expected to perform. If you can't perform, don't be on the field. You can't use that as an excuse. But not just him, just every facet. Something's clearly not right. I'm surprised because they've been a pretty well coached team over the last few years. They are playing in a dome. I think they'll have the roof closed in Arizona. So I am gonna go. I don't know why, but I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I don't like to go against Burrows. Chase, Burrows, they don't have T. Higgins, but I still feel they have enough. I'm hoping they're going to go into that game with a point to prove, although they've had that point for a few weeks now. But yeah, I was saying to myself, Cardinals, yesterday and the day before. Changed my mind today, and I don't know why. There's no logic behind it. It's purely because I think Burrows will find a way to win against the Cardinals, not against the better team. So I'm going with the Bengals.
This is another difficult one. The Cardinals have led in every game, barring last week against the San Francisco 49ers. They hung in there for a while. They did. But against an elite offense like the 49ers, they gave up big plays all day. If there is a moment for the Bengals season to swing, it is now. This is getting towards last chance saloon.
Yep.
Lose this game and you're 1-4.
Yep.
That's a long way back. A long way back when the Ravens could be 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is one of those where I'm just going to go with my gut and say we see the return of the Bengals. There is nothing to go on to say that should happen. I mean, they added Orlando Brown, and somehow their offensive line is it's worse this year.
Yep.
Much worse. That's why, when I brought Joe Burrow in to step it up, just lightly, like I'm not pinning all of the demise of the Bengals on him alone. There's a lot of issues there. But at the end of the day, Burrow, you've got to lift this team somehow. And I feel like this is an opportunity that the Bengals will take. Do not bet on this game. Do not touch it. Bengals win, but I'm not confident.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, purely based on reputation rather than confidence or faith, I'm going to pick the Bengals. Like you said, they absolutely have to have this win. They can't go 1-4, and with a loss to the Ravens on their schedule already. Just their D has been the most disappointing thing to me so far. Well, their offense has absolutely stunk, but the D was apparently improved since last year. This is a team that have reached AFC title game twice. Should have twice in a row. yeah, they have to win this game. Talent-wise, it's not close. So it's the AFC. They reached the AFC title game against an XFL team this week, talent-wise. But it's not played on talent. It's played on performance, and they haven't performed. I think they'll somehow find a way to get a win this week, but I'm not confident Bengals win.
Okay. Right. Now on to the third of 4 games that I could not and still haven't made a decision on yet. The New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. So I looked at this game and I'm thinking, right, what Denver team is going to step up? Is it the team that played against Miami or the team that played against Chicago for the first, 2.5, 3 quarters? Or is it going to be the team that came back against the Bears? But then I was like, that's the only thing I've liked of the Denver Broncos all year. But then I looked up, they're playing the Jets. And what Jets are going to turn up? Is it going to be Zach Wilson from the weekend, where he turned a corner miraculously and he's now going to be Aaron Rodgers 2.0? I don't think so. But if you do want to follow that up against a defense that will allow you to play, Denver's not a bad shout to be playing next after that sort of game. And the Jets D, they've got great corners. Will Wilson test Sauce Gardner? I hope he doesn't, because I can only see one winner coming out of that if he does. Yeah, I was just thinking, right, do I go Denver because they're at home? It's at Mile High. Jets traveling across the country. But again, it's not too much of an issue when it's the late game. Oh, I'm really struggling. I'm thinking I like Wilson better than I like Russell Wilson. Sorry, Russell more than I like Zach. But is that more so on reputation? Because this year I couldn't confidently say I like Russell more than Zach. Again, do I like Peyton more than I like Salah? I love me some Salah. I really do. He's an amazing coach. Ever since that game, 49ers Rams, when he had veins popping out of his head when he was pumping up the D for the 49ers, he's always been in my good books since that. And again, a bit like with the quarterback, is Peyton living off of past success? So I've got to give a pick, and I'm delaying because I'm thinking in my head at the same time who I'm going to pick. But I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos, and like the others, it's a coin toss. I think the Jets defense are going to put them in a lot of trouble. And now I've said it, I don't know why I've said that, but I've gone with Denver. I do like the matchup in a way for the Jets. I think for Zach Wilson, it's a good matchup, and I like the Jets D against that offense. But I'm going to go with the coach and Russell Wilson in this game. And I don't know why.
You guys will have to remind me, what is the name of the Jets offensive coordinator?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that angle.
I am going for pure motivational reasons, and those motivational reasons were given before the start of the season by Sean Payton, saying that Nathaniel Hackett gave the worst head coaching job in the history of the NFL, and number 12 took that personally, as Michael Jordan would say. And I think the whole week, this team will be ultra motivated to win for Nathaniel Hackett, who, by all accounts, it looks like he's a player's coach.
Yep.
I tell you what, though, this Chiefs-Jets game, I've got to give Hackett some credit, because it's what I was saying with Matt Canada. he schemed receivers open, and Zach Wilson was hitting them.
Yep.
Oh, Zach Wilson was also making some tight window throws, which we haven't seen, at least in a long time. Zach Wilson also made the mistake with the fumble. He missed a few throws as well. He missed a touchdown throw. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better.
Yeah.
But it was a big game. Is he going to follow it up this week? I'll tell you one thing. I think he's won his teammates back, because you could see at the end of the game everyone consoling him, and you could read the words off his lips. I lost this game. This is on me. So there has been personal growth from Zach Wilson. I mean, the Broncos got torched by Fields. They gave up, over 30 to the Commanders. This is one of those teams that I'm just going to say, I can't trust you. And given the motivational levels that are involved in this week's game, I am going to take the Jets, because I think everyone will do everything in their power to win it for Hackett, including Rodgers being there. So yeah, Jets win ugly game.
And you, Paul?
Yeah, I agree that a lot of football is played with effort and heart, and we don't know. Well, I'm going to predict that the Jets are massively motivated, and also the Broncos, when they look at that coach who said that about their ex-coach from last year, how much heart and effort are they going to put in this week? And how much heart and effort have they put in so far this year? They lost to the Raiders at home. They lost to the Commanders at home. They lost 70 points on the Dolphins. They should have lost to the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears gift wrapped and handed them that football game with terrible coaching and terrible decision making at the end. The Jets are going to play hard, and yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets. Not a hugely confident pick, just based on what Zach Wilson has showed us so far in his career, but I'm going to go with the motivation, the heart, and the effort that the Jets are going to bring, and that's going to be enough to win in Denver.
After hearing you both, you're making me really regret my call now, but I'm going to stick by it. Although if I was last, I would have probably changed it already. But yeah, I've made my pick and I'm going to stand by it. But Chiefs at the Vikings. We've all gone with the Chiefs, right, on the feature game. Perfect. Dallas at 49ers. I think we all went 49ers, didn't we?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. And last but not least, Green Bay at Las Vegas. I have gone with Green Bay to win this game. I think it's the first time I'm picking Jordan Love this season. He's done slightly better than I expected him to do, but overall he's not impressed me either. But I think he'll have enough. This Las Vegas team is poor. It's really not very good. I don't know if Garoppolo has a chance to be back or not. I haven't looked. Wouldn't probably change my mind either way. I think Green Bay will have enough to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, this is truly another difficult one. I'm glad that this is Monday night?
Yeah.
Won't be touching this. Josh McDaniel, I mean, some of the play calling, highly questionable. I mean, they should have tied that game last week. You're at what, like the 1 or 2 yard line? And the play that you're going to draw up with your rookie is to throw it outside the numbers. you need 2 yards. We're going to throw it over 10 yards. There's a lot of issues with the Raiders. But they're one of those teams where it will click every once in a while.
Yep.
The Packers, roster-wise, I'm not buying this. I haven't been buying it for a long time with Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, the experts say that this is an elite, well, not an elite, but a good unit. I'm not buying that this front, maybe the secondary, but the front seven, there's nothing that tells me that this is an elite group. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. Offensively, Bakhtiari's gone, I think, at the moment. That's a huge blow because that's the one elite aspect of the Packers usually is their offensive line. They do generally give their quarterback time. Really concerned with last week's game. Like the Lions really just put their foot on the Packers' throat and said, we are going to destroy you. And it was not a good game from Love. He's played better than that. Very difficult. I'm gonna go with the Packers based on the fact that Matt LaFleur is all about execution, and I think that overall the Packers will make less mistakes than the Raiders will. But I am concerned with no Bakhtiari. Max Crosby could have a field day.
Yeah.
But I will go with the Packers, who have had 10 days to prepare for this one.
Okay. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with the head coach. Head coach, I think, is a massive. There's a big disparity between Matt LaFleur and Josh McDaniel. I don't understand why he is still. Well, I do understand, but he's still employed some way, somehow. They've got quite a lot of talent, actually, the Raiders, when you go through their roster. They've actually got, like, their pass rush, potentially. The rookie Tyree Wilson opposite from Max Crosby, that could be a huge problem in the league for quite a few years to come. And they've got the NFL's leading rusher from last year. But they find a way to lose. And yeah, I think the Packers get Aaron Jones back this week. That's huge for them. They've really missed him. That's big because he's run inside, outside, catch the ball out the backfield. I think the Raiders are poor on D. Yeah, not the Packers win this game. The Raiders lose this game.